Crypto gaming is dead. Let's talk about it. Hello, my name is Brogan and welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. Today we are going over crypto gaming. We have a look at some articles and some examples. And at the end of the video, we'll go over some of my opinions. 3 reasons why I think crypto gaming still has hope, and 3 plus 1 things I think the gaming market as a whole could change to see improvements. But before we get into the video, if you do enjoy it, please consider giving it a like. And while you're down there, if you're not subscribed, you might as well click the button. Let's get into it. So the first thing we have here is an article by the Gunzilla executive. Blockchain gaming market is a game of musical chairs. The blockchain gaming industry has turned into a game of musical chairs with no fresh capital flowing in, just the same money cycling through different gaming projects, according to a blockchain gaming executive. There's no new money coming into the system. This guy, Theodore, says to Cointelegraph at a Consensus 2025 in Hong Kong. So let's have a little read, see what he's thinking. So Theodore pointed out that the unique active wallets in blockchain gaming has fallen from around 10 million last summer to $7.5 million wallets today, with roughly 70% of Q1 2024 growth driven from airdrop and farming campaigns. So this is kind of the main issue with games currently coming out, in the ecosystem, today and as of late, is this play to airdrop era of games, as he says here. Highlighting blockchain games like RPG game, Kuroro Beasts, fighter game, AI Arena, I believe that is, and card strategy racing game Mixed Mob as notable games with significant airdrops over the quarter. He says that users were artificially creating multiple crypto wallets and engaging with games solely to collect airdrops, a method he says is totally unsustainable, which is true. I mean, if you have these games which are having multiple users, millions, thousands, or whatever it's going to be, maybe not millions in this ecosystem, but hundreds of thousands, whatever, coming into these projects to collect these airdrops, there's no sustainable reason for these people to keep playing this game if the only reason they're going into it in the first place is to collect an airdrop. Their sentiment to the game is already going to be something they're going to try, do what they need to do to get the airdrop, and then leave it. There's currently no loyalty in blockchain gaming, he says. I can agree with that. I can completely agree with that. I've not really been big in the gaming sector of crypto as of late because I just think it's not good enough yet, personally, to invest my time. And we'll have a lot of me talking later on in the video about my opinions on, why I think it's still okay and why I think it might be bad and why we need a change. These are not long-term like clients or users of your project or product, he says. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I completely agree. They will just go from project to project and extract whatever value they can from that project. Once there's no more value to be had there, they're going to move on to another project. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think there's not a lot of reason currently. I mean, there are definitely some games in the gaming sphere which are decent. There are games out there which have some sort of value. But I think a lot of them, as of late, are ones which are crypto first. And that's one of the things we'll get onto later on when I give my own opinions. I don't give my opinions now, but in a more concise way later on in the video. They're majoritively focusing on the crypto side of things first, and they're not really focusing on the end user and how they will play the game and continue their project in the long term, which is where this airdrop system comes in, where people go on, collect these airdrops and not actually play the game. Top gaming tokens by market cap. Now, we're not going to scroll through all of it and see exactly, every single token and all the games, whatever. I just want to point out Ronin. So I want to look at the top games. Mutual X is another one with the zero knowledge rollups and no gas fees. It's quite fast. And we've got Ronin, which we're going to look at in a second with this article. I just want to point out, the current sphere of gaming tokens. It's an alright ecosystem, but I want to mainly point out Ronin in this because just as a transitional, as we are going into the next article before I give my opinions. So let's read this quickly. Top Web3 games are coming to Ronin network. So these are some of the new games coming to the Ronin network as of late. If you don't know Ronin network, some of the notable, or one notable I know as of the majority of people should know is Axie Infinity. That is on the Ronin network. So if you don't know the token, obviously we'll go into it soon. So Forgotten Universe, Runiverse, that is. I think it sounded like Universe as I said it. Based on a popular IP, Forgotten Runiverse is a fantasy MMORPG. In addition to facing mythical creatures and exploring a vast open environment, players can immerse themselves in crafting and captivating mechanics. This focus is on wizards as players gather materials, master spells, and even contribute their own knowledge to the on-chain book of lore. That's quite cool. A community-wide system which can you can involve yourself with and capture yourself into the community. Failborn, this is I think I had a quick read of this one. Revolutionizing Web3 mobile gaming. Players may enjoy the game in quick, action-packed bursts thanks to its well-designed graphics, strategic combat, and quick raids. The gameplay is made more complex by creative mechanism for creating and protecting kingdoms. Yeah, I mean, this isn't one of my other issues. Again, it's not one of the ones I'm going to mention in a minute when we look at my opinions and whatnot. Is kind of the regurgitation of things already existing outside of Web3 sphere. A lot of them, and I don't mind this, but I think it's getting to a point where a lot of it is kind of copying and regurgitating, like I said, multiple games which already exist, but just including Web3 into it. And yes, this is a method you can do, and obviously if you do it well, is okay. People are happy playing games they've already played if they are good enough to have that kind of replayability factor, which is another thing linking to one of my main points in the end of the video when I do go my opinions. People aren't really focusing, or projects aren't really focusing on the gameplay side of things more so than they are focusing on the crypto side of things and how that works. In this case, where if you do copy a game, yeah, you do have a chance to create something which has that replayability factor, but at the same time isn't going to spark interest like something like Startless may do, even though there are plenty of games out there which are space themed, where you have your ship. There's, I think EVE Online was one of the massive ones with incredible money inside of it, due to some of the aspects being quite expensive. Like ships could go for thousands of dollars. I don't know how much the most expensive ship was in EVE Online, but the point is that certain games can be ported into copies of themselves a lot better than others, I think. So for example, using the case of Startless, I think those sorts of space games, they are few and far between. You don't see that many of them. They're not tons of them. But then there's examples like Fortnite, where you see nowadays multiple battle royales all copying each other in one way or the other. But Failborn, creating your own kingdom and then protecting it and fighting people. This is just Clash of Clans number 512. This is just the same game over and over again. So I don't think some of these games have that potential of creating a new fan base with a new fan base which can hold on and exist for a long period of time, due to the fact that they're games people have already played before. I want to go over this last game. Ragnarok Landverse Genesis. Two Flink games are coming to Ronin as part of the renowned Ragnarok franchise Web3 expansion. Popular MMO RPG experience is brought back to life in Ragnarok Landverse Genesis through character customization, crafting, missions, and an on-chain economy. In the meantime, the mobile tower defense and monster collecting game Ragnarok Monster World is available. So they're kind of making this ecosystem of games within Ronin, which is cool. Now, I think there's a delineation between certain game types. I think the Clash of Clans type of ones, yeah, you can make multiple games out of them, but again, Supercell and that whole sphere, they've got kind of three types. They've got their fighter game. Brawl Stars is a new one they were trying to test with the Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, characters, but in that sort of fighting style. And then they have their Clash of Clans and the Clash Royale. They have a kind of this sphere of things. And obviously within their Clash of Clans sphere, they had Boom Beach. I believe that is also Supercell. I think they had one more, which is very similar. So they kind of capitalize on their own system. And we've got 50 plus games which all are like this kind of base building type of thing, which people are always going to eat up. It's like, for example, Apocalypse films. I would watch 50 Apocalypse films. I like that. It's like having a replayable game, like, for example, Clash Royale or Clash of Clans. I can understand where the reason why there's 50 plus games like them, because there's that, kind of, like I said, replayability factor, where people don't mind playing these sorts of games again because they have value. And this is another point I'm going to make, in my opinion, is the concept of value in your time put into a game. But I think my delineation, the point I was trying to make before I started yapping, was with RPGs. Now, I think, again, there are multiple RPGs. There's tons of them. Obviously, biggest one probably being World of Warcraft, in my opinion. I know there's Guild Wars 2 is quite big as well. That's not a bad one out there. There's some free ones. There's multiple ones in different kind of categories. Now, I think, obviously, there are quite a few MMORPG games in crypto, but I don't think any, obviously you can correct me in the comments, I don't think any have done it to the scale which it needs to be at, or to the impact it needs to be at. Again, I will be talking about it in my opinions. But however, I do think MMORPGs, although can be repetitive, are a bit more of a meta kind of genre, rather than it being a base building game, which is kind of an aspect of a game. So it's kind of got these two areas. You've got genres and game aspects. I think base building, a lot of these kind of Pokemon type things, they are, kind of, well, with the Pokemon game, for example, these are genres, but at the same time, a lot of the combat, for example, is very kind of game based, and a lot of them are very similar. So like Axie Infinity, for example, and there's tons of them which are this kind of game. It's more so not a genre but a mechanic, where every single game has this sort of fighting style or fighting system similar to Pokemon, and it gets very boring at that point. But with MMORPGs, role playing is never really going to be boring for people who play MMORPGs. This is sort of the system. You have this differential to people. I think that is a very important point as well, is being different from other people in these sorts of games really stands out to a person, which obviously I'll get onto in my opinions. But I think with MMORPGs, it's more so, this is like a meta genre where you can do anything in an MMORPG. You can make any sort of game fall into this category. If it's got a marketplace and it's got MMORPG and there's collectibles and stuff, that is the groundwork for a good, I think, successful game in crypto. But another issue with MMORPGs in crypto is that there's not going to be 50 of them you're going to play at the same time. Same with World of Warcraft. Majority of people who play these sorts of games maybe play one or two. They might try out different ones, but they'll stick with their main, MMO. Obviously, in this case, it might be World of Warcraft or whatever you play. So you can't realistically have multiple of them in crypto. However, I do think if you're someone who wants to make a game and do it well, and you have your own game, you have a little game studio going on for a crypto project, I do think an MMORPG isn't a bad genre to go and try and make, especially if it has a marketplace. But again, we'll get onto it. So that's the article. So let's read this quickly, actually, to kind of see why people choose Ronin before we move on to some of the games we have, just go through them, and then I'll give my opinions. So, why developers are choosing Ronin. Major factor in Ronin Network's growth as a hub for game developers has been its shift from a curated platform to an open environment. Any developer can now build on Ronin thanks to its permissionless nature, increasing the number of applications it can be used for. Yeah, their NFT system is really easy. Their SDK to include its wallet and integrate that into recognizing people and actually using in-game transactions is actually quite easy. I believe from Ronin, obviously I've never had it first-hand experience, but I believe is very easier, or a lot easier even. Development procedures have been made simpler by the Ronin developer console. In-game marketplaces, integrated wallets, and simplified user profiles are made available to developers, lowering technological barriers. Many people have brought their games to Ronin because of this convenience. Yeah, like I was just saying, their focus on ease of integration is really nice, because again, this goes to another point I'm going to make, which is focusing on the game first, not crypto. Ronin makes it really easy to do that due to the fact that they've got this kind of curated kind of blocks, building blocks for people to include crypto through Ronin, being the integrated wallet system, the marketplace system, and simplified user profiles, as it mentions here as well. The other thing as well is the scalability. There's a lot of mention of scalability from Ronin across the board. For example, with this last paragraph, Ronin's performance and scalability are also noteworthy. The network saw 2.2 million daily transactions in Q3 2024, a 24% increase over the previous quarter. Collaborations with big studios and gaming projects have fueled this expansion. Yes, these guys are kind of the big dogs. Obviously, Mublex is really big as well, especially with their token. But Ronin, in terms of the majority of benefits you can receive, because yeah, Immutable X has their no gas. I believe it's like a no gas fee, pretty much instant transaction with their system. Because obviously with the zero knowledge rollup, they're both built on the EVM. However, with Ronin, yes, you do have these transaction costs. However, I believe their ecosystem. Obviously, again, I'm a developer. But I'm not a game developer, so I don't know it firsthand. But I believe their system is very streamlined to include Ronin in either a pre-existing or non-pre-existing game which is just being built. So that's kind of the article. That's the whole of this article. Last thing I'll go over. I just want to have a quick look at some of the 30-day top blockchain games we have currently, just to see the state it's in. Because again, I'm kind of an old gen when it comes to crypto gaming. We did quite a lot of streams on it back in the day, but nowadays I don't really keep up with it because there's just so much going on and so little care. Because all the majority of the ones I saw before I stopped looking at it were trash. So again, obviously we'll have a look at this, see what ones we have. So I saw this one in particular. I believe this is kind of like an MMO type of one. So if you play the video, I might mute it. There we go. So this is another one. So again, a Starship one actually. Again, and this is another point I'm going to make with within my opinions, is going to be the kind of quality of games and speed it takes to produce these games. You know, because again, games are a monumentous task, and I think in terms of development industry, like you can make websites, you can make this, that, the other, you can make utility programs or content creation programs, and you can make anything obviously with programming. But I think making a game is really a big monumentous task. Even obviously for a solo developer, it depends on what scale you want to do it at. But if you think of pretty much every game which is good ever, it has tons of people behind them to actually create them, to make them good. So I'm looking at this, and this is one of the things which I think about, and as I'm seeing right now, is just one of the pitfalls of games which just aren't quite there yet, because games require years and years of development time. And this is one of the things which happens, is this kind of like duplicate, I've seen this before feeling, where okay, I can immediately tell this is built in Unreal Engine, because every game is built on Unreal Engine these days, and I can completely clearly tell. And these assets, these remind me of games I've already seen before, and it's just like, it's not polished. And I'm not judging. I thought that dragon was my name then. I'm not judging them or anything. I'm really not. Obviously, this could be a great game, and obviously that's where it comes to is the game quality first. Think about World of Warcraft. I think the gameplay loop is one of the most important things, because that's what you're playing at the end of the day. You're not playing it to look at it. And that's, I think, one of the issues with modern games is obviously Unreal Engine probably makes it really easy to build games. However, I think the strive towards more realistic looking games and high res games, I think it just gets to a point where we're chasing the wrong things when it comes to gaming industry. And this isn't just a crypto thing, this is gaming as a whole, I believe anyway. Because look at Minecraft, Terraria, some of the biggest, I'm not saying those are the biggest games, Fortnite, again, good graphics, but not the most beautiful. They're a bit arcadey. But, think about Pac-Man and the reason games blew up, arcades. Back in the day, these games didn't have these great graphics. They were solely built on the gameplay loop. And World of Warcraft, for example, I think the combat loop in World of Warcraft is honed and honed and honed. I think it's, beautiful. It's really good combat loop, and it doesn't matter what the graphics look like. Again, they're not horrible graphics. However, they're very stylized. And I think that's one of the things people need to focus on in crypto games from the get-go. Because again, you can build a game with a good gameplay loop and just do normal assets which everyone else uses. Your game's just going to look like everyone else's. So I think some of the delineations people need to have in crypto games is going to be art style and obviously gameplay loop, aka the entire game. So with World of Warcraft, obviously, as my main example, is the gameplay loop is very smooth, and it's I'm not saying it's unique, but again, think about how old World of Warcraft is. It was one of the first ones to be doing this sort of gameplay loop. There were MMOs before it, but their style was so different at the time anyway. And again, their art style, it's very kind of stylized. It's quite edged. If you look at the assets and the skin, not skins, but kind of the costumes. I don't know why. I can't figure what's it called, the customizations I suppose you can have with your swimmer skins, the transmogs. They're very unique in terms of the way the armor looks, the weapon look, or the enemies look. So I think a lot of the issues come with either all the games are 2D and they're pixels, which you can have uniqueness to pixel games and 2D games, but I think a lot of them kind of mesh into each other, which is one of my issues as well with someone who actually wants to involve a lot of their time into a game and have a game be their main game in crypto, is the games look the same, and this doesn't look very appealing from this screenshot. Not to obviously judge or anything, because again, games are hard. But again, this just looks like a map you can find on the Unreal Engine marketplace, and they've plonked it in, maybe changed it around a bit, and there you go, there's that map. So I think there's not, the craftsmanship isn't quite there with some games. So let's go to a different one as I'm talking. I think the craftsmanship isn't quite there, where they want to get the product out before anyone else does it, so that they can be first to market with some systems, or just be something which can gather a large community before the game is truly kind of polished and there. This is mutable. I want to look at some Ronin. Actually, it doesn't really matter. I'll look at anything. Boomland. What's Boomland? So this looks kind of cool, I guess. It's kind of a third person. But again, this is identical to what's the name of it? It's like Fall Guys, Storm Guys. This is identical. I can tell you. Look, watch. I'm going a bit off script here in terms of looking at it, but let's try and find like a health bar or something, or like UI, I suppose. Yeah, like here we go. Something like this, kinda. It's identical, especially this. I think it's Storm Guys, which has these sorts of bars. or it might be what's it called? Survive.io. There's certain games which have these UI elements to a T, like a copy. This isn't really unique. For example, that's not unique at all. Let me scroll along a bit. Again, not that much screenshots to look at. So let's go through it a bit. Like, yeah, I mean, the art style, I like the art style. It's cool. You don't see a lot of games which look identical to this. So in terms of that aspect, I think it's pretty good. In terms of gameplay, though, obviously I haven't played it myself. But looking from the screenshot, which is like one singular screenshot, what could this potentially be? Well, it looks like there's stars as you kill things. So it looks like as you play the game, you level up. So probably like a character. Your character levels up as you do it. NFTs look like the characters. That's cool. I like that. Again, a good system there to buy characters as they kind of, as you play them and upgrade them, whatever, with different weapons. I just want to try and find one more before I move on to my opinions. So this one, an interesting art style. Again, not saying it's never been done before, but quite a nice little edgy art style, quite unique, especially within crypto anyway. So let's have a look at how it looks. Not bad. I mean, it looks like it's been done in Unreal, Unity engine. It's a bit like floaty, but again, not bad. But would I play this? Again, the animations aren't really there. I'm not saying it has to be polished, but I think the game industry is very aggressive when it comes to how polished you need to be. And again, I'm not saying all crypto games has to be polished from the get-go. However, it just looks like a very simple game. And again, how are you gonna win money? This. I don't really think that's a very good example of a great game to be involved in. So it's opinion time now. We will firstly go over the 3 reasons why I think crypto gaming won't die, and then the 3+1 things I think crypto as a whole, in terms of the gaming side of things, need to change and improve on to be viable in the future. So the first point is reintroduction of hype from new game releases. So there are quite a few big games out there which haven't been released yet or are in alpha stages, which I think once they will be released, I think will reintroduce, like I said, hype and bring a big community of gaming back into the kind of scene of gaming. I think obviously the main one is Star Atlas. I think currently there's a bit of stagnation in games. Obviously I'm not solely in games 24/7. I'm not constantly looking at all the new crypto game releases. However, I think it's a bit stagnant when it comes to new games which have that sort of quality aspect, which, for example, Star Atlas is trying to achieve. Now, again, we said this, year ago, whenever, 2 years ago, however long we talked about it, in terms of Star Atlas on our streams, which was these games take a long time to kind of finalize and actually get to that point. But that's what I was trying to say, before, when I was saying games take a long time. And in order to have that sort of art style or that concept, which is unique to that game in particular, which will bring people to it and want people to, and make people want to actually play it, again, it takes time. 5 years, 6 years, 7. It takes a lot of time. Think about World of Warcraft. That's been going for so long. But before that, it will take even longer to actually get to the point where they want to release it, especially with MMOs, which, for example, Star Atlas is kind of on the concept of EVE Online, like I mentioned earlier. So these sorts of games do take time. So these sorts of games do take time. I just cut this. Hopefully you can cut it smooth. I reiterate the same thing over and over again. So yeah, these games do take time. So do bear that in mind. I think they are going to slowly come out in the future, and this will bring a lot of positivity to the crypto gaming sphere. Now, so the second point is, I think crypto is quite notorious for being quite involved with their community and people as a whole, especially in crypto games. That is no different. So if you think to normal game studios like Ubisoft or any of the other ones, I mean, I'm not going to name them off. You can go look them up, whatever. The kind of disconnect between people who play the games and the people who make the games is quite large. I mean, I'm not saying they never talk to the people who consume their games. However, what I'm trying to say is, there's not that kind of direct line of communication, where I think crypto games, they're not at that level, or the kind of projects which are making these games are not at that level where they're so alienated from their community, where they can't have these, common communications between people. Think about Star Atlas. I know I keep on using Star Atlas as an example. Their Discord, they have these calls, they have these areas where people can talk to the developers and talk to people, and it's very, very involved with kind of the development process. And normal games, think about GTA 6, for example, Rockstar. Do we have a Discord for Rockstar games where they can go talk? No, again, they are community and kind of game sphere veterans where they know how to make a good game. Rockstar, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm not saying they do need that kind of involvement with the community, but I think it would just be a tiny bit better if they had that kind of direct line of communication through a social media out like Discord, where they can communicate with their community and talk to them about how the game's going or what they want to have from the game or anything to do with opinion from the public. I think that's where crypto kind of shines, and the idea that it's quite close-knit and people can talk to the people behind these projects, because it's people talking to people at the end of the day. So the last point I have why I think crypto gaming won't die is the inherent benefit crypto has to be involved with certain game types. Now, my main one here is MMOs with the marketplaces. Now, this is kind of a double-edged sword for me, because I am going to be giving a point negative to this in a minute, where I think they need to change. So I think once people start to see the benefits of having crypto in these sorts of games like MMOs, MMORPGs, whatever, in terms of either outside of crypto gamers or gamers within crypto, even though the gamers within crypto, they know about the involvement. I think there's a lot of future potential for crypto and crypto gaming once done correctly, because I don't think people have quite got it yet. Again, a game, it's not like it can be created in a day and it'll immediately be a hit success. There's tons of games out there which no one knows, tons of indie devs, no one knows, and the games don't really get that much popularity. So I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, that there's going to be a great MMORPG which people outside of crypto are going to want to play, and then realize the inherent value of including crypto and a crypto marketplace inside of a game to kind of bring that drive to crypto gaming. So I believe that future kind of the hope of the future for crypto and its involvement in games is quite strong once done correctly. So the first point is incentivization of playing a game. What do I mean by this? Well, what I mean is the reason to play a game. Why would someone want to play a game in the first place? I think a lot of crypto projects, like I said and alluded to before we talked about my opinions, they focus on the crypto side of things first and the involvement, which is good if you get that crypto side of things down and sorted and solved and implemented into your game perfectly. Brilliant. You're not going to have issues or bugs especially when it involves people's money. You want it to be perfect. However, I think a lot of them, like I said, are too caught up on that kind of area of things, and I think their game and the gameplay loop and the game art style, like we saw with one of the other games which looked like an MMO when we were looking at the game, I can't remember what the name it was one of the first ones I looked at. The game didn't look any different from any other game I've played, or in terms of MMORPGs, or didn't really look like games that I have never seen before. It looked like I'd already seen it before and I've already played it. So that air of quality and craftsmanship isn't quite there with those projects, and I don't think that's very attractive to someone who wants to come into playing a said game and investing quite a lot of time, especially with MMOs, investing a lot of time. Think about the numerous amount of people who play World of Warcraft. For example, Mike, I know Mike in particular plays World of Warcraft and has played it for a long period of his life, and that's only due to the fact that it's a good game. But constant improvement and development on the game, it's a long-lasting thing, and this is so. The second point is how front-facing crypto is in the game for the end user. So even though I know the ins and outs of crypto, I know how to communicate and use it, I don't really want to see it every single time I'm doing something in the game. And I'm not saying games out there are doing it like that. What I'm saying is I think there needs to be a bit more streamlined and simpler usage of crypto inside these games. Now, for example, there are SDKs. I know Startless was developing one which makes it easy to create these sorts of worlds and crypto games and include the crypto wallets in the game and the UIs to interact with it. However, I think it still sticks out a bit much, especially if I'm not kind of talking about me or someone who does know crypto and gaming. I'm trying to talk about someone who knows gaming but maybe isn't too inclined on crypto. And there's tons of people out there, who don't know crypto that well, but maybe know a bit about it. Maybe they have a wallet, a simple wallet with, Ethereum in it or whatever. I think even as simple as having their wallet and connecting it from an external area is quite complex. So my third point is the balance of grinding versus paying with crypto. Now, this is quite a big topic. I'm not going to spend too much time on it in terms of going really in detail with it, but I will give some examples and I will talk about it. There needs to be a reason for someone to actually grind, whether that be gathering materials or doing something like that, leveling up a profession, and then actually crafting it and then selling it. And then there being someone who wants to pay for that rather than going through the time to gather something, craft it via leveling up, and then pay, and then using it. So in World of Warcraft, for example, let's say you create potions and you're going to do a raid and you need some buffs, so you need potions for the buffs. So you could yourself go and collect the herbs, get a gathering profession, and then go for profession which creates potions or creates something out of that material. Create that thing yourself and then use it. That requires, or in a good case, requires quite a bit of time and input. So it gets offset when you pay a bit of money, doing whatever you do, quests, or you do your own profession. You can then use that money to pay someone else to create that potion for you. And that person who creates the potions probably has someone else pay, gather those herbs, whatever, and then pays for it over the marketplace. So there's a good ecosystem there, a very simple ecosystem where people can actually do things and have value in it. Now, there needs to be that balance, like I said, grinding versus paying, where it actually has a value to it when someone creates a potion. There's quite a lot of time which goes into creating, getting the herbs. For example, you might need to be in a specific zone, with a specific mount or specific something to get that herb, where someone could then actually have value in selling it to that, potion creator. And the potion creator, needs to have value in their potion because it takes time to level up that profession. So there's that whole kind of area of doing everything yourself versus paying. And I would assume in that ecosystem, you pay with crypto. Obviously, it won't be like $1 a potion. It would be, fractions probably, where it actually has that value. But again, that gets, controlled by the free hand. It's not like you set, at $1. As per marketplace, it has, fluctuations in price, which get managed naturally by the usage of people who think it's worth something that it's not. So, or worth something it's not, or worth something, in general. So that whole area is kind of, I think, the issue a lot with, again, MMOs. But not only that, but with, for example, Pokemon type games like Axie Infinity. I know there's a lot of games which have like an egg, hatching system, for example, or things which take time. And that's kind of a different sphere where you obviously you spent time trying to get the egg, but you also have to hatch it, for example, and then you get a new character out of it. And that whole thing of selling that as like an NFT, for example, that is like, pretty much an identical example where, sorry for the bike, where people actually spend time, getting this egg and then hatching it and then selling it versus, doing it yourself. It takes time to do that. So, this kind of topic can be applied in a lot of different games. And if you didn't have this sort of grinding versus paying kind of battle, there would be no point of having a crypto game in the first place. So this is probably applicable to every single crypto game out there versus having, obviously there's games out there where you have to pay an NFT for the ship, which is fine. Yeah, that's cool. Holding that character and then being able to sell it. That's a kind of a different sphere. But the majority of games have this system where you can interact with a character, upgrade it. There's programmable, you can program an NFT. I'm slipping off the word there. But you can program the NFT and then kind of upgrade it and then sell that for a higher price. Same concept there. So that whole thing does need to be improved quite heavily, I think. So the last point, I know this video is quite long, but the last point, which is kind of an extra one, quite small, is the player count barrier to the value in the game. What does that mean? Well, if you have 5 people playing an MMO, there's not going to be that kind of freehand, simple economic market which has value in gathering, value in potion creating, value in actually buying it. There will always be a certain limit or certain kind of player count where the market is in full effect and there is actually value in a bunch of people. And either trade wars happening where someone has a lot of herbs and there's battling for the cheapest price, or trying to sell something for the most expensive price. If you don't have that certain amount of players where it actually matters, then you're not going to have that market. And to make another point as well, the community of a game. So for example, World of Warcraft, there's collectibles out there, transmogs or mounts, which take a lot of time or are very rare to occur. Now the community in the game respects that item or transmog or mount, whatever. There's a level of respect, and this is where MMOs kind of shine in terms of there's always going to be an inherent value in what you do because of the judgment of other people. So if you have a mount which is like really rare and other people have it, there's this kind of subconscious feeling you have of, okay, I have something other people don't, because everyone else and you is aware of the input it takes to get that mount. You could buy it, yes, but obviously that takes money, and then that also is a reflection of the amount of time you spent in the game. So there is always going to be this kind of global respect of someone based on how much money they have, or how much the rarest mounts. There's always that kind of battle. So these things will matter when there's enough players to actually care about it. Because if you have, let's say you have one person in MMO, a lot of the systems aren't going to work if you're doing dungeons or raids. But at the same time, collectibles won't matter either. There's no point or this is a personal thing, maybe as a collectible, if you're watching this video and you like to collect things in a game, might be different for you. But in a solo game, I think there's so much less value to collecting something when the battle is within yourself and not against other people. Again, there are people out there who like to collect things, so I'm not saying everyone doesn't like a solo collectible game. However, I think there's a lot less value in that than an MMO. So those are just some of my opinions. Do bear that in mind. If you have different opinions, put it down in the comments. If you hate me and absolutely despise me and think I'm an idiot, also put that in the comments. But, you know, if you like the video and you like me and you like what I said, you know, leave a nice comment. It would be nice to see your guys' opinions. Again, like I said at the start of the video, do make sure you like the video and subscribe while you're down there if you did enjoy the content. I enjoyed making this video. I think crypto gaming is a very big topic. Obviously, you know, I'm not saying it's the biggest topic in crypto, and on the grand scheme of things, does it really matter that much? Probably not really. However, I do think it's an interesting topic to think about, and some of the ways you can improve crypto gaming as a whole. But I think hold on to your seats, strap yourself in, and wait a bit longer till the good games actually come in. Because again, a lot of the things in the market currently with the games are not very good. A lot of the games out there are not very good. So do hold on. One day there will be the perfect game. It will come out in crypto, and the whole ecosystem will change. But until then, do subscribe to the channel, do like the video, and I'm out. See you guys next time. Goodbye.